The evolution of the password has led to most of us either reusing the same complicated password or just forgetting what password we use for what, or just storing them all with one company. But are we entering a passwordless future? The company Stytch has put on a full marketing blitz, and chances are you have seen some of their ads on billboards or transit. So what is really going on with this? Joining us live to talk about this, the CEO of Stytch, McGinley-Stempel. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me on.
Okay, so we all have passwords. We all know why we need to have passwords. So what is your company trying to do? Are you trying to get rid of them? And if so, why?
Yeah, so we are trying to move to a passwordless future on the internet. And I think if you think about what we're doing, it's a very different angle than what has been tried in the past, where maybe to simplify account management, you use a password manager like 1Password or LastPass. What we actually do is we sell software to businesses that make it so they don't need to make the user create a password at all. So instead, when you go to sign up or log in for a website, you could use your biometrics, like your Face ID on your mobile phone, Touch ID on desktop, or you could do something like sign in with Google, Apple, or an email magic link.
That's awesome. So why approach it from that way, doing it directly with the company?
So a little bit of it was that my co-founder and I came from a developer-facing company prior to starting Stytch. And so we were much more familiar. The name of the company, which is also headquartered in San Francisco, is called Plaid. And it's behind the financial connections that happen when you actually connect your bank account to a company like Venmo or Robinhood. And so similar to another big kind of API company in San Francisco called Stripe, where in order to improve the user experience of either connecting your financial accounts or making a payment online, it's focused on making the change from selling to businesses where they feel that they can have the best leverage in terms of seeing the impact of that adoption. And our perspective was similar, which is businesses are really motivated by a couple things. They want to build easy sign up and login flows. They want better conversion because they make more money when they can convert users better at sign up and login. And they care about security. They don't want users' accounts being stolen. And so because there are a lot of arguments you can make to the business to adopt passwordless authentication, we felt that was a better angle than trying to convince hundreds of millions of users to download an app to manage these passwords.
That makes sense. So are companies already on board, or do you have companies that are using this right now?
Yeah, we have hundreds of companies that have already gone passwordless. It's interesting because we definitely saw early interest and adoption in companies on the fintech and crypto side, where I'd say they're a little bit more forward thinking. But then you've seen it kind of come across e-commerce, B2B SaaS, traditional financial services, health tech, healthcare. And so it really is something now that is starting to go horizontal, even though it's in the early innings.
I love that. It sounds like, a great idea. I know a lot of people would be like, oh, thank God I don't have to enter this password. And great for the companies, as you explained as well. What challenges are you facing at this point?
The main challenge is definitely inertia, where you think about, even though users don't like passwords, there may be certain companies that feel like they have to support passwords because what if I surprise 20% of my user demographic who has only ever used passwords over the last 3 decades? And I think the reason user demographics do play a role is that there are some popular applications with younger demographics that have already gone passwordless, such as like the Square Cash app, other big fintechs like Revolut, Monzo, Slack in the B2B setting. And so I think that is definitely one of the big things to convince of, if you're talking to a legacy financial institution or a legacy healthcare company where they have, users of all ages, how do you make sure that they're not shocked by this passwordless experience? And so we think a lot about our role as kind of being a bridge to the passwordless future. So we do actually also support those companies that need to support passwords alongside things like biometrics, phone login, email login. And a lot of what we do is how can you give those 80% of users that are ready for a passwordless experience entirely the ability to drop their passwords while still catering, but providing maybe some more guardrails or ease around those users so don't feel like they're quite ready to give up the Post-it notes that they write their passwords on.
We love it. You guys got to be in tune with where people are and meet them where they are. So we appreciate that. And thank you for coming on the show and sharing this with us. I know I'm personally excited about not having to use my password. So thank you.
Thank you very much for having me on.